Looking for a guaranteed way to create content that resonates with your audience? Start a podcast. Interview your ideal clients and let them choose the topic of the interview. Because if your ideal clients care about the topic, there's a good chance the rest of your audience will care about it too. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to the B2B Growth Show, a podcast dedicated to helping B2B executives achieve explosive growth. Whether you're looking for techniques and strategies or tools and resources, you've come to the right place. I'm Jonathan Green.
And I'm James Carberry.
Let's get into the show. Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. Today we are joined by John Turnbull. John is the Senior Vice President of Business Development at Thuzio. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jonathan. Pleasure to be on with you today.
Yeah, well, you know what? I have high hopes for today's episode. We had sort of a nightmare just trying to get connected, technical problems and scheduling problems. So I know that we've been very anxious to get you on the show, sort of tap your expertise. And we're going to be talking about how brands can use events today. We're going to be talking about creating an experience for your desired audience. But before we get into today's topic, maybe you can tell our listeners a little about what you and the Thuzio team are up to these days.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. The Thuzio Executive Club has presence in New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. And we have a member base that buys into the Executive Club for the ability to access our events to entertain clients and prospects. And we throw the most memorable, distinctive business evenings of the year. And we do so because we bring our members and their guests up close and personal with sports legends, culinary events with celebrity chefs, and business thought leaders. And we provide experiences that are hard to find outside of a Thuzio Executive Club membership. And as a result, we've got a very happy member base.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think it really speaks to your level of expertise. You know, certainly you're creating events all over the country, you know, high-end, memorable experiences. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today, how someone can use an event, how they can use their brand, use their events, and sort of connect with that desired audience. So you're obviously the expert here. I'm just going to kind of let you take it away.
Yeah, I mean, I think a very good example of how brands can use events to connect would be, through sponsorship of events and creation of their own events. So a couple different ways on that. The sponsors who are a part of the Thuzio partnerships are able to get themselves in front of our audience in a really great fashion. First of all, our audience is a room full of people that are exactly the folks they want to be speaking with. And they are able, through their partnership with Thuzio, to get them in a very, when the tension is high, when they're about to be watching a speaker that is someone of the, a legend of sports or entertainment that they've been looking forward to for quite some time. And right before that happens, say it's a toast for Hennessy XO, which is a partner of ours. It's a really memorable way, and it brings them in and makes them part of the experience and part of the event that you certainly don't get through, call it any other form of kind of standard advertising.
Yeah, and this is obviously, it's an investment, right? We're talking about events, but you've probably seen the sort of ROI. You're putting a lot of money into it, but the relationships that you're developing, the experiences that you're creating are probably invaluable.
Absolutely. And when they're thinking back, so one of the things that's great about using events is, and this is very much a goal of ours, we want our members and guests to be telling a story, call it 6 months down the road, of something, that they heard Jeremy Roenick tell, or Sam Zell, or Rick Bayless, whatever kind of the talent is or form of the event, where 6 months later they're having the drink or coffee with a friend and they're telling a story from that evening. That's a goal of ours. That certainly doesn't happen from someone that just went to a Cubs game. It's a better experience, and we get that. And when they're sitting there telling that story 6 months later, or whatever it might be, they will remember that the brands that were part of the experience and that were there and made that night special.
Yeah. John, I'm glad that you brought this up, because this was kind of be one of my first questions about that. you are creating this experience. I sort of understand that this is going to be something that that audience is going to be talking about hopefully months, maybe years down the road. But how would you recommend then that you actually tie that experience back to the brand? What's the best way to do it? So it's not just, I got to meet so-and-so. It is, I got to do this because of this brand.
Well, I think what's critical there is in the upfront piece that the brands who we work with specifically understand our audience, and they've obviously got to make sure that our audience is right for them, and it is their demographic, which all of our partners wholeheartedly agree with that, and that's why they're working with us. But that's the most important piece right up front, that you've got the right room to respond well to your product you're offering, whatever that brand is looking to get out of the event. So that happens right off the bat, and then we make it part of the event. It's key that the brands are included in the event in an inobtrusive and natural way. So it's not in any way being forced to the audience. And that can come through in several different ways, be it, if BMW we did a very good event with BMW where they dropped off Gale Sayers at our event in their newest vehicle. And everyone, of course, was awaiting his arrival. So everyone saw that happen. It was kind of a cool moment. And I know BMW got a lot out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, John, then this idea of knowing the audience, knowing that you have the right room, creating the right experience, is this something, this idea that a brand can use an event? Is there a place for all brands? Does this only work for particular brands, or does it just take some adjustment, looking at the nuance of who it is that you're trying to connect with to create the right kind of event?
I think if you get creative and think of fully understand the goals of the brand for our room and our members, there's absolutely a way to incorporate all brands in. It obviously is going to be different for a spirit to an automobile to an accounting firm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of course, that's all got different nuances in how you'd want to handle it in the room, but there's obviously ways to incorporate the brand regardless of their offering or what the brand is all about. Another thing, we're very good at Thuzio in working closely with our partners to make sure that they're getting out of it exactly what they want. It's not just like an instance where, okay, we've agreed to a partnership, you've bought a sponsorship, here's the standard 3 things you get, give us your logo, and we're done. It's not like that at all. Once the partnership is official, we have a series of calls to make sure we fully understand what they want and they fully understand what they can get out of our room at our events. And I think that's why we've got a lot of happy partners, because we work closely with them and make sure all goals are achieved, whether it's about exposure at a launch or whether it's about, sampling, whatever is most important to that brand, we can incorporate into the Thuzio Executive Club events.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So, John, this next question, it may sound simple. Maybe this is a terrible question, but what do you think it is then about an experience that can be more powerful than another way of connecting with your audience, whether it's marketing or emails or just whatever it is? What is it about the experience that can really set that apart?
Well, I think there's just things were done kind of set ways through standard advertising over the years that's just gotten a little bit old and played out and lost upon today's audience, where people are looking for experiences. That's what people are seeking out, and that's what's going to be memorable. And people, as I mentioned, people are going to be talking about 3 months, 6 months, years down the road, as you said. And by brands connecting themselves to those memorable experiences, these unforgettable events, then those brands can be tied into that memory and connected to it, and really, truly a part of what is inside someone's head is an outstanding evening, an outstanding memory, something that, they'll be talking about for months and years to come.
Yeah. It seems very much a reoccurring theme as we talk to guests who are, marketing experts or experts at connecting with an audience, that, the B2B space is taking a lot of lessons from the B2C space. This is just me, but, I would almost associate those sort of experiential events in more like the B2C space. You think about those most popular brands, but there is this huge opportunity for B2B brands to be taking advantage of some of these lessons, like creating an experience.
Absolutely. I think you're right on in the whole idea of the B2B companies starting to learn more from what's done B2C wise. Absolutely.
All right,
and events clearly are a great way to do that.
They absolutely are. John, I'm going to challenge you a little bit with this next question. With just speaking to our listeners who, are in marketing, running a marketing team, CMOs, whoever it is, maybe even a business owner, and they're thinking, okay, I want to take advantage of this experience. I want to take advantage of creating an event. I want to connect with my desired audience that way. Do you have 2 or 3 maybe tips or tricks or best practices, things that we can leave our listeners with and they can take back to their company and sort of set them on the right track?
Yeah, well, I think one of the key things is make sure when you're creating an event, make sure that you're doing something that differentiates that event, where it's not your just kind of standard cocktail hour or perhaps a presenter that's got a PowerPoint that's a little bit dry, a lot of things so if you think of the things you've gone to and everyone knows well and has done numerous times, try to create an event that is different from that in some capacity. That's a very important starting point. I also think that you got to have a hook to get people there. The event space is crowded, so there's a lot going on. People have a lot of things on their calendar and options and places to go, things to do. So you got to have that hook. Obviously the way Thuzio does that is through celebrity and influencers. And that's certainly something I recommend to anyone looking to do it, because we know it certainly works well for us. And then lastly, making sure that there's a personal touch at every event for everyone. So if you've got a room full of 20 people or 200 people, make sure that everyone comes in the room and leaves having felt there was some form of a personal touch to them, something they weren't just a part of a larger audience. They were specifically invited, felt very much a part of the group, and walked away with a great experience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Stand out, have a hook, create a personal touch, all of it. Honestly, it sounds exhausting, but if it was easy, everyone would do it, right?
Yep, absolutely. And, one thing we found that's been interesting so we'll have executive club members who are coming to an event and they will bring 1 or 2 people. And then they realize that after coming to a couple of events, that their brand, the company they work for, can really benefit from doing something very similar or replicating our events. And they'll come to us then and say, okay, I've been coming to the last few events and they're great. I love the experience. But next time, rather than bring 1 or 2 people, I'm going to bring 40 people. And I want the entire room to get exposure to our brand and be our personal event. And we've had a lot of success with doing that for folks, for members who originally had intended to do it to entertain 1 or 2 guests at a time who might be clients or prospects. And then they realize the opportunity they can get their entire brand in front of a full room all about them. And then we work with them to kind of bring that hook, bring in whatever the celebrity talent is that they're seeking for their audience, and basically recreating a Thuzio Executive Club event for whatever company it is that they represent. And that's worked well for us and for some of our members that have done that.
Yeah, well, you absolutely sort of put your money where your mouth is. I mean, the events that you've created sound very successful, brings people back for more. They want to be involved. And if any of our listeners out there are interested in being more involved, maybe touching base with you, finding out more about Thuzio, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Yeah, great. I welcome the opportunity to connect with anyone who wants to hear more about the Thuzio offering. I can be reached at jturnbull@thuzio.com or always found via LinkedIn as well. Either works.
Perfect. John, thanks again so much for your time on the show today. It was a pleasure having you here.
Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate it.
If you've been getting value from this podcast, you can help us reach more people by reviewing the show on iTunes. Here's how you can leave a review in less than a minute. Open your podcast app and tap the search icon in the bottom right corner. Type in B2B Growth, then select our show. Once you're there, tap the Reviews tab and tell us what you think of the show. These reviews help us out a ton.
Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.